Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Charlie Pankey, Sierra Rec Now podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Wherever you're at, we hope the Sierra is within your sights or in your future. We're back today bringing another exciting show about the Sierra Nevada and things you can be doing in the mountains. And today we're going to stay local. We're going to stay Lake Tahoe and the Carson Valley, and we're going to be talking about some dirt tracks, and then getting out into the backcountry with a great company right here in the Tahoe Basin, Full Access Tahoe. I've got Adam DeVargas with us, owner of Full Access Tahoe, part of the Polaris network of off-roading vehicles. How you doing today, Adam?
Great, Charlie. Thank you so much for having us on today. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely, and you're right here in the Carson Valley with me, right? So we're neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. Right here, based out of the Pine Nut Range. It's a great place to be and live, and we've been around the area for about 30 years now.
Oh yeah, see you doubled me. We've been here about 18 years, so that's a good time, and we probably have run into you someplace and didn't even know it. So that's nice to meet you today.
Nice to
But
meet you as well.
so the Carson Valley, so you must be a dirt bike rider, mountain biker, skier, the whole nine yards in the area then.
Yeah, exactly. I moved into the area about September 3rd of 93. Came up here for the mountains and the snow and snowmobiling. And then, saw my dad used to bring me here every summer. So I saw, what's available in the summertime. I mean, there's mountain biking, there's skateboarding, you name it. You can go out and enjoy the different ranges of the mountains around here.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to be honest with you. Last summer, I made I made it a point to actually drive my vehicle top of Genoa Peak.
Mm.
And so I'm up on top of Genoa Peak. I'd never been up there before. I saw a video online, so I'm going to do that in my truck. And I'm sitting there coming down the mountain, and here comes one of your vehicles. Somebody had rented right up to the peak, and they're getting out. And these gentlemen are talking about how much fun they were having riding these off-road vehicles. I didn't even know it was available up there. To be honest with you, I apologize. And we have this great view of Tahoe. So if you're listen to this, you're going, what are you talking about? Genoa Peak. It's on the east side of Tahoe. It's one of the tallest peaks on the east range there, and you get the most panoramic, beautiful view of Lake Tahoe from up there, and then down in the Carson Valley where we live at. So it's just a great place. But these guys were having a ball. I want to let you know that they thought that was so cool to be up there and dinking around with their own vehicle.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when that was the whole reason is to access these locations that you can't in normal vehicles. It's a little bit easier to get out there in these machines and to get those 360-degree panoramic views of Lake Tahoe and the Carson Valley. Every time I get a chance to go back up there, it blows me away. And I've been here
Yeah.
30 years. And I'm like, man, alive, the views are gorgeous. And it is one of the best places and only opportunities to get up to that vantage point to look over the whole valley and Lake Tahoe area.
Yeah, I don't recommend most people take their cars up there. My truck got beat up big time, so take one of his.
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
it's a pretty violent road up there, but we did experience it. Now, a lot of people that are listening to us may not know what the Pine Nut Range is, and I think it's one of the hidden gems off of the Sierra. We obviously our customer base talks about Sierra Nevada, and we talk about just kind of things that the Sierra Nevada touches. And the Pine Nut Range, maybe you can give some accents since you are out there toil in the dirt all the time about your viewpoint of what the Pine Nut Range is and what it means for recreation opportunities.
Yeah, what a lot of people think about when they think of Nevada is just desert, flat, boring desert. And, we start here about 5,700 feet, and we have opportunities through the Bureau of Land Management with our permit to get up to 9,400 up to Mount Siegel, Mount
Seagull,
Arena,
yeah.
Mount Baldy. And if people have never had a chance or opportunity to go up there, it's gorgeous. There's
Mhm.
pine nut trees, there's pine trees, there's bighorn elk up there, or I should say bighorn
Sheep.
sheep, lots of deer, and the flowers are astounding. So it just has a great opportunity to wind your way through the foothills here, which also has wild horses
Horses,
in
yeah.
lots of different places out there, and then get up to 9,400 feet, which overlooks also the Smith Valley and all the Carson Valley and towards Topaz and stuff. It's gorgeous up there.
Yeah, I haven't been up there myself. I've been out on the horse property where the wild horses run, and you're talking about wildflowers. You're right. That desert out there in the springtime it explodes with amazing color in the desert out there. And a lot of people don't know there's actually their own water sources out there that come off Mount Siegel. They have water sources that come into the valley that we don't see very often because they're not like rivers. they kind
Yeah.
of disappear in the desert for whatever reason. But
Yeah.
it's quite entertaining to ride out there in that big open land. So
Yeah, the snow melt helps all those wildflowers, and also, like you said, there's natural springs that bubble up right out of the mountain that feed these wildflowers. And I try to go out, tell people, describe it to them, but until you get a chance and an opportunity to get out there, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous land.
So is that a road that goes all the way to the top of Mount Siegel, or is that a trail that's been made by guys like yourself for a long time of riding out there, or is that?
Yeah, the trails have been there long, long before we ever got a chance to get here. And back in the day when I started exploring, when I was a little bit younger and stuff, there really wasn't any maps or anything. And you kind of just
Yeah.
like, oh, look over here, let's go this way, let's go this way, until you found your way to the top. And it's just a great way to access these locations way above any tree line that overlooks so many beautiful locations.
Yeah, it's quite a different experience. I know I hike a lot out here, right in the pine nuts behind us. Take dog outs, great place to take the pets, and kind of just meander through the sagebrush sometimes. And it is amazing the views you can get, especially when you live the Sierra on the other side of the valleys. Right, you get this massive Carson Range and the backside of the Sierra, the easy to see from the vantage point. So I imagine that's just quite stunning from the top of Siegel there. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's the thing too. A lot of people have lived down here for all these years. People are like, "What are they doing out here?" And you look back on the eastern part of the Sierra Nevadas. I mean, the views are astounding, and we get a lot of the gorgeous sunsets.
yep.
The sunrise and coming over Mount Siegel and stuff, and then looking back over at the sunset. I mean, it's gorgeous with those snow-capped mountains.
Yeah, people don't know about our skies very much. I wrote an article probably 10 years ago when I first started blogging about if you're moving to the Carson Valley, your choice is do you want sunrise or sunsets? Because if you're a big sunrise person, you move to Genoa so you can watch sunrise all day. If you want the sunsets, you move to the east side of the
Yeah,
valley so you can watch the sunsets all day. Because we
exactly.
just have incredible skies either way we go. So
You
we're
name it
blessed that way.
for
Very
sure.
cool. Well, off-roading, is that something you guys been doing for years? I'm sure the vehicles have changed a ton, if that's the case. I mean, you've been here that long. Tell me
Yeah.
about your experience and how you guys got into the off-roading.
So I've always been, my dad used to take me, if people are familiar with Pismo Beach, that's where I started, back in the day when they sold three wheelers.
Okay.
And so that's where I kind of started getting my love of being off road and dirt bikes. My mom would never let me have a dirt bike. So I had to wait quite a few years, but that's kind of where it started. And then I had an opportunity, I guess we're in our 11th year now, to purchase. I bought a couple brand new 2014 Can-Ams and a couple trailers. And I took the roll of the dice and I said, let's go. Let's see what happens here, to give people an opportunity to get out to these locations that normally people don't know about. And so we just started that slowly but surely. And it just kind of built, you got to start the website and get people finding you and seeing you where you're at. And the Lake Tahoe area speaks for itself.
Yep.
So we had that area going for a while, and I was doing rentals down here as well. And I just kept talking to people. I'm like, hey, you rent up in Lake Tahoe, I'll give you a discount to try the Pine Nut Range down here because it's just as good with a whole different experience.
Yep.
With the geographic of the nature out here, it's more rolling hills, a little spread out, but just as fun and just as gorgeous. So
Hmm.
kind of started off in that angle, and it's just grown to where we are today, where we're part of Polaris Adventures, which is an amazing way to get new equipment every year, so people can try it before they buy it, as I always
Oh,
tell.
wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, come out and try it, because a lot of people want to start exploring with the side by side, but they don't want to really own one. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
garage it, you got to tow it, you got to maintain it, and we just have an opportunity to come out and use it directly from our location that gives them an easy way to do that.
That's nice. And we spoke with the Mammoth Off Road Group, who's part of Polaris, a couple weeks ago on the show. And I'm assuming you're the same, where it's GPS, right? So a guest comes, they rent, 2 hour, 4 hour, all day, whatever the experience is that they're renting from you. And then they get a GPS setting. And so you just let them go and they're mapped through technology. Am I right on that? Or is your guys is a little bit different where you guide them the whole time?
So we have guided and self-guided.
Okay.
Some of the bigger ones where a little more technique is needed. Where
Yeah.
I have a chase vehicle and guide them through some water runnels and things like that, where there might be some ditches. We do guided ones as well, longer ones where people like that sometimes.
Yeah.
They want to be helped through or shown exactly where to go. And then we also do GPS mapped out specific trails.
Okay.
Where we've been here for quite a few years, and I feel like we know some of the better trails. So I'm like, hey, here's a 20 mile, 30 mile, 40 mile, 50 mile trails. They
Yeah.
take about this much time. If you follow these ones, you'll get the best views and the best trails, and that usually is down here for the Mount Siegel location.
Yeah.
Up there at Genoa Peak, it's pretty specific. It's on the east shore there. It's out and back. We do 1 hour, 2 hour, and 3 hours, and that way they get the best of all that terrain that has to offer, and then they
Hmm.
make their way back to us at the designated time.
A great place to kind of take an afternoon picnic, I would assume, for a family of four. Throw a lunch in, go up to Genoa Peak, have a picnic, and enjoy the day, and then come back. Right, be a
One
pretty nice
hundred
little trip.
percent. That's what I try to talk to people. I'm like, hey man, make a lunch. We have coolers for you. I don't have ice. Bring your own ice, but I can put a cooler right in the back for you. Go up there and just enjoy it, zen out or whatever you like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, to take the opportunity to enjoy those views.
That's awesome. Now, your guests are probably coming from all over the world here in Tahoe and in the Carson Valley. Is there a prep list or a plan people should expect when they're doing this maybe for the first time? I remember the first time I went to, just kind of share, went to Sparks and did one of these tours out of Sparks. He had no clue what to expect. I didn't know if I should wear shorts or jeans or if I need to wear boots. If I need to worry about any of that stuff. And when I showed up, it was really great. They had the helmet for me already. Didn't really matter what I wore except for, if it was windy or cold, maybe be a little prepared.
Yeah.
Maybe from this area, maybe you have a prep list for spring versus summer, or, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly. So usually when people are booking, has all that prep list inside their
Okay.
booking platform, so it gives them a good idea. If they give me a call, I'm like, you can wear pants or long, shorts if you like. Closed toe shoes is always mandatory. You don't want you in flip flops or Tevas or sandals, stuff like that, because you're going to be walking around on rugged terrain and stuff.
Yep.
Always be hydrated. So I always tell people bring water. You're coming up there at Lake Tahoe, 7,200 feet. You start up and you get up to 9,200. So always stay hydrated. Sunscreen's a must.
Hmm.
Always bring maybe a light jacket or a hoodie or things like that. A backpack is always nice because you can stuff all the stuff in there.
Yep.
So feel free to bring that and put it in there. Chapstick and sunglasses. We provide the helmets. Sunglasses are a must. What's nice too is that these machines have the Polaris Ride Command Center in them, so I can link all the machines together. So you don't need to be stacked right on top of each other, right?
Oh, that's
You
nice.
can see each other a couple miles away, so you can spread out not to suck in any dust, which is super convenient. You can communicate with each other, say, hey, pull over, we want to switch out drivers. So it's really nice. So anything like that, we try to tell them ahead of time to be prepared
Right.
and stay hydrated and stay fueled up with some kind of something to eat and things like that.
That's cool to know. I actually kind of wondered. I've actually, you know, secretly taking pictures of your guests riding the desert. As I'm out there with my dog and I'm taking photos to share on social media, whatever. I've taken pictures of you guys as, you know, rigs going by on the roads, and I'm up on the mountainside. They don't even know I'm up there, but
Yeah,
but they are. There's this separation where I always think, well, is there a family, a group of people together? So I've always wondered how that worked. That makes a lot of sense to probably link
yeah.
it up that
It
way.
makes people feel comforting, that they can see each other. Plus, they can get a hold of us at any time. We
Yeah.
have GPS tracking devices that we put additionally on the machine in case they need medical help or they have something wrong happen with the machine. They get a flat tire or something of that nature. They have an ability to get a hold of us as well.
Yeah. So let me ask you about wildlife real quick, because one of the things special about our range is we do have the wild horses in the range. Amazed how many times I take my truck out there and just kind of run into them
Yeah.
out there. Bighorn sheep you were talking about earlier. How often with these vehicles they got to be a little bit loud to have some noise to them? How often do you hear guests say, "I saw this," or do you happen to see wildlife out there in the desert or in the mountain?
Yeah, so the horses a lot.
Yeah.
That's one of our big draws. Is I try to tell people, we take them in and out of the area. I say, hey, be respectful of the horses. Be
Yep.
aware of them. It blows people's minds. And people have
Yep.
never seen wild horses. That happens quite often. Up there in Lake Tahoe, I've only had two bear sightings in all
Okay.
the 10, 11 years we've been up there because they hear that and they saunter off. They
They're
don't.
out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, and people always ask, "Oh, are we going to see bears?" I said, "You're more likely to see bears at the dumpsters in town,
Yep.
around the restaurants. You're more likely to see that. Down here, red-tailed hawks. They see a lot of deer that
Hmm.
seem to, deer aren't too skittish. They're going to check you out and then move on about their business. Foxes, coyotes,
Hmm.
But a lot of times, a lot of people see wildlife, not so much bears, but they will see the other ones I
The other
described.
ones, yeah. You don't want to see the mountain lions are out there, so
No,
they're
I
yeah, they don't
yeah,
want
I've
you.
never seen a mountain lion out in the Pine Nut Range. I've seen it down coming down off the hill of Lake Tahoe and stuff, but
Yeah.
never down and around this area. I know they're about, but I've never seen one.
Very cool. Now, I was I wanted to shift gears. I love the wild horses. It's one of my favorite things for living in Nevada. So I want to make sure we shout that out. But I was on your website. It says family business.
Hmm.
So tell me about your business from your standpoint of the owner. I mean, who's involved in the family?
Yes.
What's the? Tell me a little about that. Tell your story a little bit.
Yeah, so like I was saying before, in 2014, I wanted to start something that could get people to these locations and share the backyard in a responsible way for other people, you
Hmm.
know. And so I bought those vehicles. I took a chance. It was me and my wife. We named the business out of like 300 different names that we were looking down. Finally settled on Full Access Tahoe because I kind of wanted to be like a backstage pass where you have full access to the
Yeah.
Lake Tahoe area into Gardnerville in the Pine Nut Range. So started it off. Well, it started to grow, which is nice organically. It started to get bigger and bigger, and my son was looking for something to do, and I kind of encouraged him in a positive way. Say, hey man, if we help me out, we can start getting this going, really off the ground. And so he came in about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and we were able to start applying his skill set, which is more a lot of the internet. A lot
Hmm.
of the kids things are great with computers and phones and digital, and so he started applying himself into that. So it's my son, myself, and my wife.
That's fun.
She has a full time job, but she takes care of like all the technical hard stuff that the paperwork or the legal work or the permitting process that I'm not super good at, and we handle a lot of the operational side of it. So us three
Okay.
have been able to power through and take care of everything that it takes as a family business since 2014.
Fantastic. And how many vehicles do you have available for rent on any given day?
So it varies between the two locations. We try not to
Okay.
overflood the trail system. I want to keep it intimate. I want to be
Nice.
able to people to go out there and not see other people instead of like, oh, there's people everywhere.
Yep.
So in Lake Tahoe, we usually have about 8 vehicles. And let's say at one time I've had, let's say a group of 24, like 6 4-seaters go out at Lake Tahoe,
Okay.
spread them out. And it's only during, like, I would say that would only be like 6 vehicles during the first 12 hours of the day. So
Yep.
it's real, our first 8 hours of the day, real intimate. And then the next six, we have a couple chase vehicles as well in case something should happen. We
Yeah,
have a
exactly.
backup vehicle. So any given season, let's say this year we'll have 20 vehicles, but not all are going out. There's backups in case somebody does something silly. And down here in the lake, in the Gardnerville Pine Nut Range, I'd say I have like 10 vehicles, and most that go out in the morning, probably about the same number, six in the
Mhm.
morning, six in the afternoon.
That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
very good. I'm sitting here thinking when I was up at the Genoa Peak and the terrain up there versus the Carson Valley. So in the mountain, folks, if you're listening, and correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but the road, it's a network of roads in the Forest Service roads up there. They got a lot of rock and roots in the trails. There's a lot of bump, which these vehicles are great at handling, by the way. And you get to Genoa Peak, there's a lot of climb that you can, some nice climb that you have to go through. And because the roads are a little bit more difficult for a car, you're not going to run into too many cars out there. You're really going to be by yourself most of the time. But
Yeah.
the undergrowth of the trees is all this beautiful manzanita bush. It's got this great color to it, and the lake looks incredible, right? And then you come down the Carson Valley, and it's almost all sand. Some rocky spots depending on where you're at in the valley, but really it's a lot of sand. So I can imagine those tires just spinning and have a good time.
Yeah.
Probably gonna be a little dustier down here, but the
Yeah.
views you're going to see forever. You can see in the Carson Valley for 25, 30 miles,
Yep.
in some places, in those little knolls, the little hidden springs and stuff are pretty cool. So,
Yeah, so that one up in Lake Tahoe, like I was saying, you start at 7,200 feet. You start right there at the trailhead. You park there, you meet us and greet us. We'll do an orientation. It takes about 30 minutes.
yep.
And then you're going to be amongst the pine trees. It opens up a few times where you can see the lake. You get all excited. It is rocks, ruts, whoops, hill climbs, down climbs. It's a really cool climb to get up to the top of Genoa Peak. You'll look off to your right. You'll see the Carson Valley and then pop up above tree line. And we usually have people park right there and then make
Mhm.
the extra effort. It's about 10-15 minute walk. It's called On Top of the World. And that has 360-degree views of Lake Tahoe.
100%.
Yeah, it's like you said, the being up inside those trees, those pine trees, it's a whole nother world, and we
Yeah.
try to keep it that way. You don't see a lot of people up there. Sometimes the jeepers,
Yep.
sometimes once in a while a car, which I'm like thumbs up, brave moves you to try to get out there with a
In my
car.
truck, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise you're by yourself out there, which is how we try to keep it. We maintain the trails on a daily basis, looking for trash, looking for debris.
Good.
You know, there are some sharp rocks. You got to be careful. You got to make good adjustments. Pick the path of least resistance,
Yep.
and you'll have a great time out there. And then down here, like you said, in the Pine Nut Range, it is more wide open. You can see farther. You'll be able to see Mount Siegel to the eastern Sierra Nevadas. But what I love about this area too is that it has a different, rocks, ruts, sand, whoop-de-doos. You can open it up a little bit more.
Yep.
And we put you in some dry river beds and sand beds where you can, put it 4-wheel drive and get through them in different areas. So it's
It's a lot
pretty
of
cool.
fun. That's a lot of fun. I'll have to go out there, do that with you sometime. That I think
Yeah.
the pine nuts would be. But do you guys go up on Sunrise Pass too and stuff? You said there are different routes of 20, 40, 60. I imagine you have all kinds of different routes.
Yeah. So
'Cause it's all BLM roads, but I don't know how many miles of BLM roads we actually have right behind us. It's got to
my
be thousands, right?
Yeah, thousands and thousands of miles. So our permit pretty much goes all the way over to Sunshine Pass, about
Okay.
ends around somewhere around in there. We want people to go far, but not too far. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I have a great network of trail systems around in this area that has great access that you can't get bored. We try to change up the trail system as well to not overuse it, so I have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, the one thing that always amazes me when I go out there is how many times I do run into those spring spots, right? It's like all of a sudden you're just in this desert and you think it's pine nut trees and it's a little dry, and all of a sudden you just come to just lush waterland. It's like,
Yeah.
where's this from?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Pretty
pretty
cool.
amazing because we do a lot of dirt biking out there. And we do find these fresh springs that come right up out of the ground. You think it's
Mhm.
a desert and desolate, but all of a sudden, like you said, wildflowers. I'm like, man, alive! This is a good to have in your memory.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's turn to guest experience real quick here. Just a few more moments. We got about 10 more minutes left on our show today, and I want the guests to kind of know if you want to book with Full Access Tahoe. I mean, give us some of your best bets. Like, what is a family of four, first time ever getting one of these vehicles? What's the best bet? Maybe give us one or two of your favorite tours to look at.
Yeah, if you've never been to the Lake Tahoe area, you're gonna want to go to Genoa Peak.
Yep.
Um, it's user friendly for everybody. I've had never been in a vehicle like this before, first time beginners, and I've had all the way to the end trophy truck drivers. And it's just a great way to get away from it all. As you know, it can be busy in some spots around Lake Tahoe. This is a great way to get away from it all and just enjoy being out in nature. I tell people too, yeah, the adrenaline factor is thumbs up, but it's
Yep.
nice to get to a spot and just turn the vehicle off and listen to absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
There's no sounds, there's nothing going on. You don't need to talk to each other, just to take it all in with the nature. And I go with the high suggestion of going up to Genoa Peak for first time
Yep.
family four. But also, people have been like, well, I like the idea of being out in the Pine Nut Range. We're kind of into that. And I'm like, man, right here, I always go with a happy medium, 3 hours for first timers, or 2 hours, then go to Genoa Peak and come back, or the 3 hour here. I've never in all this time had anybody come back and be like, "Oh, that was too long." You know what I mean? It's just,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It's
Yep.
impossible because you're just having so much fun going and exploring places you've never been before,
Mhm.
and getting away from it all, and then seeing the wild horses and seeing the wildlife and just experiencing that. I always go with the happy medium of 2 to 3 hours. It
Yeah.
seems to be a good time, and most of the time, the complaints I ever get is like, "Oh man, we're already done. We're back. I should have gone for longer."
Should have
And
gone
I always
longer.
tell them, I said, "Hey, I'll give you a discount for going to the other location and trying that out if you like."
There you go. That's very good. And since you have crews on both or rigs on both sides, I imagine people can do that over a weekend pretty easily and
Yeah,
go
they can
hang
do it
out
the
just
same day
one
if they
spot.
like. I've
Yeah,
had
there you
that
go.
happen too. People go to Genoa Peak in the morning, they come down here in the afternoon, and just experience the two different locations. It's always a thumbs up.
Is there a like a too late in the day point for a 2 hour rental or whatever for the evening, or what is your guys' timeline for end of day?
Yeah, we'll usually stop that at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
For like actually both locations. I want to get back and make sure that everybody's cool, and if anything should come up, we have time to deal with it while the sun's up. Because the Genoa Peak location usually is snow dependent, and it'll
Yep.
open June 1st, the earliest. Which
Is it okay?
yeah,
It could be earlier this year. You might be in next month.
yeah, we'll see what happens. But usually the Forest Service will keep the gate locked no matter what until
Okay.
June 1st.
Okay.
Down here, we can start running. We can do year round,
Yep.
depending on the snow and the mud down the Pine Nut Range. If you've never experienced that, is something you could build a house out of this mud down here. So it can be super fun. I try to encourage people. Sometimes we have a really cool creek crossing, a river
Yep.
crossing out there that they can get totally soaked in. People love that. But it's just two different locations with two different experiences, and it's just a great way to get out and about.
Very cool. The Genoa Peak, just to make sure it's at the Broadovich trailhead, right? You guys at the paved parking lot with the bathrooms there and everything. That's where you guys
Yeah,
launch.
exactly.
Okay.
Actually, Brodovich Park is about a mile from there. The trailhead
Okay.
is actually called Castle Rock Trailhead.
Okay.
They can leave directly from there. They have a beautiful facility up there with restrooms and a big parking lot that the Douglas County Parks and Rec put in quite a few years ago.
Okay, so I just call it wrong. So I call that Broadovich, but it's
Yeah,
okay. Castle Rock, same thing. And
yeah,
actually, that's a great point just for our listeners too. If you go up to that one, Genoa Peak, a great ride, and then that Castle Peak hike. There's a little loop hike right there. Fantastic family experience. You can hike up on a rock and sit on top and look at the lake too. You can
yeah.
take a whole day up in that district there, and so
That's
great parking.
that's what sometimes people will do too. Let's say the grandmother or kids don't want to really go on it. They'll send the family out on our machine and they'll take the hike out to Castle Rock, and then they'll come back and kind of meet up exactly at the same time. So it's a great way.
Yeah, it has the nesting falcons and everything out there, those rocks. So it's pretty neat. A lot of climbers go out there and climb that rock too. So
Yeah.
neat area. Hey, you wouldn't believe it. We're already kind of up on our time, Adam. So I want to give you a moment here. Tell guests what they expect in 2024. Anything big news that you'd like to get out before we kind of come up with our closing questions here.
Yeah, definitely. We have the brand new 2025 XP 1000s. I
Nice.
love getting new vehicles every year. It gives the customer a real good safety feature as far as like, hey, these things aren't going to break down. We go through them every year. We go through them every time you bring them back, clean them, wash them, make sure they're ready for you. It's a great way to get out with your family, your friends. We do bachelorette parties, birthday parties, whatever you like, and anybody can do it. It's not just limited to, like experienced drivers. I will make sure that before you leave that you feel comfortable and safe so you can have a great time out there. And if you try both locations, we'll give you a discount. Pine Nut Range, you can't go wrong with down here because people love to see the wild horses, and the views from each side of the valley are gorgeous. So it's just a great way to spend time with your family.
That's great. And full access Tahoe's best way to get a hold of you guys. They can look at all the routes and opportunities there on the site as well, right?
Yeah, they want to give me a call, if they have any questions, 775-309-8789. I'll definitely spend time with you, make sure you feel comfortable, walk you through the booking process. But nowadays, these booking process super simple. You just click,
Yeah.
click, 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 answer the questions, pay through the online payment service, and it'll send you a confirmation email.
Ready to rock and roll. Well, very good. Let me run a little quick promo for our Visit Carson Valley, our homeland. We love our wide open spaces here, and we sure can't do anything without them. So, want to make sure we give them some love today. So, real quick here, watch a little bit about the open space here in the Carson Range. So, oops, maybe I'm not going to press that right. There it goes, live. Here. I don't know, Adam. I think you
No,
better get one of your rigs on there and get the
yeah,
get that Jeep off there. No, I actually know the guy in that Jeep. He's a good guy.
right.
One of our legends in the area. So, hey, Adam. Here's how we enter our show. And every time we have 3 questions for you. They're kind of for personal recreation, outdoor adventure. Question for yourself. Okay, but we
Fire
know
away.
you do the off road all the time.
Mhm.
But so assume your bag's packed and you and your wife are taking a weekend off. You're going to go explore the Sierra someplace else. Where would you go and why?
Oh, wow. That's a heavy question there.
It is.
Uh, yeah, I love all of the Sierra Nevadas, which is really nice. We love going down the eastern part of the Sierra Nevadas, past Mammoth, Bishop,
Mhm.
and down in there in Mount Whitney. I love the Mount Whitney portal.
Yep.
Just gorgeous views, and that mountain alone will take your breath away
Yep.
just looking at it. So we like to head down there. It's what's nice about it is it gets less people. And I think because you got people coming up from LA and that area, they usually kind of stop at Mammoth, right?
Yep.
That's their destination. And for us, the people driving down south on 395, they're continuous. And, they're not
Yep.
stopping. They're heading all the way down. So I love that area. Sonora Pass is a great way. I go
I love
snowmobiling
Snow
up
Pass.
there.
Yep.
So I kind of like the eastern part of the Sierra Nevadas, but home sweet home, Lake Tahoe.
You
I
can't go
mean,
wrong, right?
I moved here in '93 and I never left. I thought it was just going to be a quick little stopping ground, but it's a special place in our hearts for sure.
Yeah, the Carson Valley is a phenomenal place to live. That's for certain. So, all right. After a big long day out on the trail, any adventure you do, I'm a big food guy. I love my cheeseburgers, milkshakes. What after a big day of off roading in Tahoe, you're helping guests. What's the go to meal around here? What do you gotta go grab?
Man, so I got a couple places. I like the Tahoe Jasmine here in town, or Thai Jasmine here in
Thai
town.
Jasmine, yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
I think they do. I send a lot of people there, and I also love the Minden Meat and Deli. I think they're a
Gotcha.
great company there. They've always done us right there, and it's just great food. And Woodette's, big thumbs up for breakfast there too.
Breakfast at Woodette's is hard to beat. We
Yeah,
have three really good breakfast places in town. That's definitely one of them. The
yeah,
pavement scraper breakfast is highly
yeah,
recommended.
exactly. And I do also love Jerry's. Jerry's has a great skillet there,
Do
so
they? I've never eaten at Jerry's in all my years. Yeah, gotta
definitely
go
thumbs
do it,
up.
huh?
Yeah,
Gotta go check Jerry's. Right on the S curve, you can't miss Jerry's Grill. It's
yeah,
always busy too. There's always people there.
yep.
Very cool. All right. So the last one here. This will be a little interesting with the off road guy. We're all gearheads in some way in our life, right?
Mhm.
What's the piece of gear you never leave home without? It's like that go to piece of gear. It's always with you for any adventure.
No matter what, I never leave home without a spot tracker. Spot find me.
There you
Um,
go.
Nobody thinks about an accident till it's too late. And
Hmm.
nowadays, with this technology, it's really easy to throw it in the backpack. I throw it dirt biking. I throw it into our side by sides. Easy subscription, one time payment to buy one, and I throw in the backpack because anywhere you're out there, you can get a hold of medical help. It's a
Yep.
satellite based, so I throw it in the back. Even when I go snowmobiling or I go backcountry snowboarding or anything like that, just in case. That's my go-to. No matter what, I can get a hold of somebody and
That
keep it close because if it's too far and you can't reach it, it's going to do you no good.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's probably one of the areas I need to improve in my life. I'm a little too wild in that case myself and all the backpacking I do. But Adam, it has been wonderful to get to know you and meet you. I'm glad you're here in the Carson Valley doing success. We hear good things about your travel program here all the time. Like I said, see your vehicles out in the dirt.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. I hope you have a great 2025.
I
And for
appreciate
our guests that are watching today, we'll have all links for his business down below on our YouTube channel, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We thank you wherever you're at, wherever you're listening. We hope the Sierra is in your future. It is springtime, and we're talking waterfalls. We're talking about getting on dirt. We're talking about spring skiing. There are so many things you can do in the Sierra. Don't miss your opportunity. I just got back from Yosemite. It's looking great already for spring. So make plans. We'll be bringing a bunch of Carson Valley stuff this spring as we highlight a little bit more of our local area. Adam may be one of our first ones on that.
it. Yes.
But we have a bunch of stuff coming up. Our next magazine comes out March 27th. Take a look at it online. We'll have all kinds of spring hiking and opportunities for you to explore the Sierra more. So wherever you're at, have a great day. Be blessed, and hope you see the Sierra soon.